Capitalism. Ironically, a word coined by Karl Marx, who insisted it was a one-way street. Of course, this, like all of Marx's ramblings, ended up being wrong. He insisted that the government would crumble under communism. Instead, it bloodied the globe with its cruelty. He insisted that capitalism would make the worker poorer, and instead, the working class has found wealth beyond words. In fact, it's safe to say that when you look at the facts, Marx is the most discredited fool to ever walk this mudball we call Earth. In fact, in Marx, we had the walking poster board of economic hypocrisy. Marx, a trust fund baby, sucked off the breast of his father's wealth, never working himself. And yet, laughably, this is the guy who lectured the world about labor. His shared wealth socialism scam, like all other leftist brain farts, it was never an organic, working class movement, never. But instead was constructed by theorists who knew nothing of labor, facts, or reality for that matter. These elitist utopian circles, they never seem to lack in condescension, chutzpah, or audacity, but they always seem to be bankrupt with things like wisdom and common sense. In fact, they derive all their social engineering from abstract thoughts far from where the rubber ever meets the road in life. These idea train wrecks, they're always birthed in the so-called intellectual class, and then of course transported to what they view as the rabble, the rest of us. They perpetrate all this mind mud on us via the used car salesman of ideas, yellow journalists, federal education, professors. And notice what all these so-called shapers of ideas have in common. None of them are actually doers. But the more that you study the mind of Marx, the more that you narrow down what he and his stubborn holdouts cling to desperately. They hate, and I mean they hate, unequal distribution of income. Unless, of course, you're referring to their own income, because you see, exceptions must be made. Exceptions must be made. Humans, man is corrupt. Our nature is fallen. However, they disagree. They think that man is inherently good and that evil is simply a byproduct of socioeconomic injustices. And it's because of this wrong turn taken so early in their assumptions about humanity that all other things are off kilter. People are very different, choosing very different paths and thus arriving at very, very different outcomes. And of course, despite all the Marxist rhetoric, these differences are never more prevalent than in Marx-drenched economies, where the elite, ivory tower live like kings and the working class in grinding poverty. And although it's true that every society will have what Jefferson calls the natural aristocracy, these should be determined by motivation, work ethic, talent, not carved out by a governmental gunpoint. Which I don't know that I do, but even if we grant that Marxists have good intentions, their supposed good intentions are null and void by historical realities. Their ideas have always failed to produce economic equality. And although they rail against free markets, their ideas have only ever arrived by tyrannical means, forcing them upon other people. This, of course, is now showing in a governmental theater near you called America. You see, these people, many of whom work presently at the White House, think humanity can be manipulated like clay in a political potter's hand. They think of themselves as puppet masters, pulling the strings of social engineering like self-appointed demigods among us. They love these abstract ideas about reconstructing society, and they think that you need their all-knowing central planning. You serving your own interests as you see them is a preposterous notion to these people. And why? Because it strips them of their power and their influence, something that they think is just naturally their birthright. With things like history, reality, reason, human instinct, all working against them, they turn to the only thing left in their arsenal. Deception, ladies and gentlemen. Watch, the opposition to this video will sound something like this. You don't understand Marxism, Brock. You speak of old Marxism, not new Marxism. If only given another opportunity, if only implemented in the right framework, if only implemented at the right time. You're a racist, you're an anti-intellectual, you hate the poor. You're not up to date on the latest repackaging of our old economic lemon that we're now trying to sell you. They attack success, they attack common sense, they tell you you're not sophisticated enough, you're not educated enough, you're not savvy enough to understand the fine cracks, the fine details, the between the lines. Only they can explain it to you. They whitewash again and again the historical tombs of their Marxist murder, the millions upon millions of lives lost at the altar of their utopian nightmare that they again try to implement. And it was only after I traveled this globe myself that I saw their failures in the Eastern Bloc. I saw their failures upon humanity in South America. I saw it everywhere. It was only then that I was able to shake from their labyrinth of lies, the matrix that they cast on America, talking about anti-capitalism like they know a thing about it. Now, many of you know me to have a Christian channel, and I've heard it time and time again. Brock, why are you dealing with this? Politics, economics, I'm tired of hearing about this. Talk about Christian subjects. Well, I am. I am, because economics is a moral issue. So is the body politic. So is your civic responsibility. And, you know, I'm seeing the church and Christians going in a direction that I can't stand. I'm tired of hearing about social justice as they define it, not as God's word defines it. I'm hearing about collective salvation, this nonsense that they just construct. I'm tired of Christians being more worried about green gone wild, bark on a tree, than they are about their fellow human being, about their children, about the economic state of so many people in this world. A system that has brought us more economic privilege, more economic opportunity, more economic paradise than anything our minds could have ever conjured up. This system, by the way, is what enabled missionaries to touch all four corners of this planet and this globe. Not Marxism, not socialism. I'm sick of it, and I'm going to fight it, and this is going to be the series that I do it in. I'm going to do it the best I can, and if you think I'm wrong, call me on it. But I'm going to try to convince you that you should all be pulling your head out of your rump. It's very important. Even if you disagree with me, hear me out. Take it to the bank.